Welcome to the Laugh Life Podcast, a lifestyle podcast based on living alcohol-free in a booze-soaked world. My name is Kelly Evans, and together with my friends, Tracy Georgievic, Mike Sutton, and Lindsay Herrick, we share uncensored, unscripted, real conversations about what our lives have been like since we ditched alcohol and how we got here. By sharing our individual stories, we'll show you that there isn't just one way to do this. No matter where you are on your journey, from sober curious to years in recovery and everyone in between, you are welcome here. No judgment and a ton of support. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Laugh Life Podcast. We're at episode 12 in season 2. And tonight we are going to talk about 5 truths that I have learned after living 5 years alcohol-free. Hey, you guys.
Hey, Kel.
Hey.
What's up?
We're missing Lindsay tonight. She's traveling for work and can't get on. So this week I celebrated February 5th was 5 years alcohol free. Woohoo!
Yes.
Seems crazy. Yay! Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I was thinking February today. So what's today? February 15th, we're recording. And today is my anniversary for my business. I started my business 8 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Yeah.
Bravo.
And
That's
amazing.
great.
Thanks. And 4 years ago in February, this same week, I ended my marriage.
Wow.
Have you guys ever noticed anything like that? Transformative time. I have a specific month that's transformative for me.
Yeah. Sounds like it.
You guys?
I don't know. No.
Sorry, I don't mean to laugh. That's not. Sorry. I just find it really funny that you're able to tie all that together. And 4 years ago, I ended my marriage. So we'll get on to the topic of the show and just throw that little ditty in there.
Throw that little ditty. The other little ditty I was going to throw in was we released a clip from our Welcome Back episode, and Tracy makes a really awesome little thing that we can turn into a reel. It was about being authentic and being true and just putting yourself out there on social media. And then I made a post after that. I just really felt the need to, because I sounded so confident and everything in this clip that, yeah, you just do it. You just put yourself out there. And I felt afterwards, I'm so vulnerable when I do that sometimes. And we've talked about this before. I really struggle with vulnerability still in my life, mostly in romantic relationships, but in my life. And yeah, just how vulnerability is really, we've talked about kind of the way to growth and getting past things. So,
100%. I would absolutely say that that is definitely one thing I've learned. And I had that conversation with my brother actually since being sober, how the power in being vulnerable and sharing your story, there's so much power in that. People see that as a weakness, to be honest about our faults or things we've struggled with, but it's really actually so empowering, and it really does help other people. We've seen it so many times since we started this podcast.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a weakness. I think it used to be a weakness, but I think honestly, social media is changing that is flipping it in some regards, that there's more people that are speaking their truth. We don't call it vulnerable, whatever you want to call it. I think these kids now, there is no secrets with these kids. They just, everything is out there. So I don't know that that's a good thing entirely, and it's a whole other topic, but from our generation, I think, yes, at one time for sure, it was classified as a weakness, especially as a man. I mean, Jesus, it was like, don't cry, don't do this, you're a pussy, da 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 da. So I think it's great that more and more people are cracking the shell. Right. But yeah, I guess it's definitely hard to do, I'm sure. Well, it wasn't for me, but that's just in my personality. It's just, I'm not doing it. Sorry.
Yeah, it's easier. It's definitely easier to not be vulnerable, but then I don't see any growth happening for myself if I'm not. So I do a post like I did with this. I made my 5 year, and this is the 5 truths that we're going to talk about. I make that post and I like it and I put it out there, but I also feel like I'm going to throw up, and then I usually cry after too, because it's so hard for me.
Why? No, but I mean, honestly, why? I want to try to understand.
It's like a protective thing, I think, because I've had lots of I've been vulnerable in the past in situations and it's not accepted.
It's what I was saying, Kel, about my work situation. That's how I felt at work. Like put myself in a vulnerable position if people I work with know that about me, because God forbid, I said, I'm on the wrong side of someone one day and they're going to use that against me. It's not because I feel shame about it, but it's a tool or a weapon for someone to use. And that
I'm going back to childhood here.
Yeah, it's a protective thing.
Yeah.
That's the fear of being vulnerable, is you are protecting yourself because potentially someone could use that against you.
Yeah. And then I don't feel accepted. And then that's rejection.
Right.
Well, the feeling of rejection to me is the worst feeling in the world.
Probably is for a lot of people. But I think anything is a form of practice. And that's how you get better.
Yes.
And keep doing it. And I think keep writing these posts if that helps. Keep speaking your truth to whoever. And it's cliche to some degree, but who gives a shit what anybody else thinks? It only matters what you think. And that's the hardest damn thing to instill, I think, into someone's mind. This whole road of not drinking, definitely, we all have said we don't talk to nearly as many people as we probably once did. They could be all judgy and you could feel vulnerable and all that fun stuff, but who cares, man? If you're better, who cares, man?
Yeah. And it's more important to me. I made the decision to do this podcast and to share my journey. That is more important to me, helping other people feel less alone in this alcohol-free journey than it is to be judged, obviously, because I keep doing it. I'm just saying it's still hard. And even right now I'm sweating.
It's that shirt you're wearing. It's got the sweat on.
Yeah.
There is that component that we forget about too, that there's probably less people caring about what we're doing than we think, right?
It's true.
Oh,
Like we
God.
think everybody's paying attention to what we're doing, and the reality is most of them are not. So why do we care so much or worry?
Yeah.
They can't even figure out their own self, let alone other people.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I heard it something the other day where the person said, we get stuck in these old things, childhood, marriage issue, whatever you want to call it, and they're banging the sides of the wall. Oh, I'm still here. I'm still here. I'm still here. You can go anytime you want. I'm done with you. Until we can really do that and don't care, then I think we're free. But
yes. It's a way to freedom. It is like being vulnerable is the only way to be free.
And talking about it, talk therapy, whatever you want to call it, this right?
Free therapy. Yeah.
Right. It helps. I mean, do you think, well, I can speak for myself. There are some times where I was like, oh man, I don't know if I have the energy to do this tonight, but I do it and I feel great when I get off. I'm glad I did that. So yeah, talk. I guess finding the right people to talk with, though, that's a part of the vulnerability side of things, right?
Yeah, and it's a lot easier said than done. We can say that, but then to put it in practice is another thing. You often say, Kel, it's a practice. Right. So we just got to keep practicing.
True.
Well, Iverson says, man.
Who's that?
It's a basketball thing where he got ridiculed because he wasn't trying in practice, and then when he got interviewed, it's all about we're talking about practice. He was just, you're riding me about practice? Anyway, sorry. Back to the 5 things, Kelly.
Okay, let's do it. So 5 truths I learned after 5 years of living alcohol free. So number 1 is being hangover free never gets old.
Oh yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I didn't suffer a lot of hangovers. I said this before, not debilitating ones where I'd be like in bed or have a headache or feel nauseous or anything like that. My hangover was anxiety. That's how I experienced a hangover. I just had tons of anxiety, which sometimes I would have rather taken a headache or an upset stomach to deal with.
Anxiety, headache, feeling like crap, and then eating crap.
Yes.
Let's eat grease. Grease just sucks all the booze out. Or let's smoke a joint, because it did make me feel a little bit better, but then I went and ate the crap. So it made me feel. And then that affects affects your brain chemistry.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
In many ways. So
I was nursing the hangover so much towards the end, that because I was super high functioning. Like I was doing so much stuff, and wake up in the morning and have the green smoothie because that's what I needed to do. But then halfway through day driving around and going through the drive-through to get fries because I needed the grease, and then just waiting for 5 o'clock or after kids practice or whatever, 8 o'clock, till I could drink my wine again and then start it all over again. But yeah, and then I would have, if we went hard on a weekend, like debilitating hangovers on the weekends where just wasted an entire day.
Yeah.
So when I say it never gets old, it's like I have these moments of gratitude on the weekends where I will go out. I still go out. I'll go watch some music or whatever, go out with some girlfriends. And still Sunday morning, I can go on a hike or I can do whatever. Whereas I never would have done. I can just do so many more fun things with my time rather than nursing a freaking hangover. So
here's a question for you, Kel.
Okay.
Like you said, you were high functioning. Do you really believe you were that high functioning, or were you compensating for the fact that you knew you drank too much and you had to accomplish all these things? Because personally, I feel like I'm so much more motivated and accomplished since I quit drinking. I would say I was high functioning too. It's not like I wasn't getting things done, but I didn't have the same level of motivation to do them. I was just getting through them.
Well, I did. I built a multi-million-dollar business while I was drunk and hungover and raised 3 kids and achieved everything in my business at a high level. But I was dying on the inside. So now my healing journey is way more important than anything that I've ever achieved. So high functioning, I think as a society, we look at productivity as worthiness. We have such a, what's the word I'm looking for, you guys? We put so
much emphasis.
Yeah, on being productive. And if we're not productive, I'm over that. I'm over that shit. I think we need to let go of that and focus on the inside. So I don't care about being high functioning or high achieving or anything like that anymore. It's like, do I feel inner peace right now in my life? That's what's more important to me right now.
Right.
But do you?
Do I?
Yeah.
Right now in this moment? Yes.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
Yeah. Okay. Go to number 2.
Yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
This is something that I feel like I've learned mostly through this podcast this last year is healing is hard, but staying in denial of our own personal truth is harder. Oh, I feel like it's come up a lot of people just not living their truth, as I was not supposed to be married anymore. I wasn't doing what lit my soul on fire. I was not living my truth. So that's what was killing me on the inside.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I mean, I don't feel like I spent most of my life living my truth. We spoke about this even in childhood. I was missing a lot of who I was. So I have said this to some people. I feel more like myself now than I have my whole entire life.
Yeah, that's
right?
beautiful. Yeah.
I'm going to post this on our page, but I read something the other day that really resonated with me that would speak to this, but I don't have it handy to read it right now, but I am going to post it on our page and then I'll make a little comment about it. And I think same as what you were saying, Kel, I think a big part of that has been being a part of this podcast and sharing our stories. And this is really part of us sharing our truth, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Mike, do you want to say anything about that?
It's a recurring theme. I think we tend to hit on these things from different conversations. And I think it's good in the sense that we keep reiterating these points that we've grown, I think, as a group. We all have, I think, have admitted that talking about it has helped. Vulnerability, being outside of this forum by people that say, hey, I heard your thing. And I think it really helps. I think it helps the people that are conversing with us primarily, but it also helps, I know it helps me just gain more confidence in other areas of my life that I probably didn't pay attention to with business or potentially romantic. I don't know, because I haven't been focusing on that and focusing on my work, but I want to get back into that at some point in time. So I think that being able to share this experience over in different ways with different people allows me to challenge myself and really think about some of the things I've overcome, childhood crap that you talked about. And there was one thing you said that I wanted to say was you had said your vulnerability stems as far back as your childhood, like not being vulnerable or being taught how to be vulnerable. And I think what I want
being vulnerable and then being shut.
Yeah, no, you're right. Keep going. Shut down or not being taught how to hey, it's okay. I don't think our parents'
Oh.
generation, for the most part, had the skill set to do that. So
If you cried when you were a kid, what did your parents say?
so my dad was never around,
Stop.
and yeah, my mom wouldn't. I never would have
Suck it
cried around
up.
my mom.
Yeah, stop
No,
crying.
I never would have cried around her because I was the man of the house. There was no man, so I couldn't really cry. So I don't think I really cried much. There was a few times I cried, but not much. It was,
Yeah. Like, don't cry, don't be loud, don't have an opinion.
well, the loud part was me crying, just in a different way. So, yeah.
Well, if I had $1 for every time I was told I need to have a thicker skin, I'd
Oh
have
man,
a few in
Trace,
my back
that's
pocket.
hard. As an
Yeah.
empathetic person who feels everything, my God, that must have been so hard.
But
Yeah.
I think there's something to be said, though. There's a happy medium there, I think.
To be honest with you, it's helped me and been in my favor now learning that, unfortunately, kind of the hard way in my career,
I think-
because in a career, you do have to have that.
To some degree,
I found,
to some degree.
yeah,
To some degree, yeah. I read a book. Here's a link we can put in. I read a book once that really helped me. It's called The Heart-Led Leader, because I felt like I needed to have that thick skin, which I'm an emotional person. I'm a feeling person. And yeah, I've struggled with that being in a leadership role. So I found that really helpful. I think you'd like that book, Trace.
Okay, thanks, Kel. I like that
Yeah.
recommendation. That's awesome.
I
I'll
think
look
you have
into
to
it.
have the thick skin analogy because you have to have the skill set to be able to digest or to break down the scenarios in which you're being challenged. Whereas if you act emotionally, like you say, Kelly, you don't always have those. But I mean, and listen, I'm just like you. I have been a firecracker in the past for sure, but I think I did that because of things I was not being taught in childhood. Because if you're hurt by what people say every single time, then I think there's something more to it than just throw some thicker skin. There's something more to it.
Well, part of it is that in business too, you have to be able to take constructive criticism,
Oh,
right?
you got to be, take no's. You got to be able to take no's. Nothing's
Yeah.
perfect, right? Yeah.
Part of being able or learning to be able to do that. And Kel, honestly, that is directly connected to what you were talking about, rejection. My fear of rejection, guaranteed just as strong as yours. That is one of my biggest fears and has been my whole entire life.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's a huge reason why I was so introverted as a child. I don't know if that was you as well, but that was probably my biggest fear. So all that is based around being a highly sensitive individual, right?
Well,
like
and
you
I
said.
Yeah, through my healing journey, and specifically in the last year, I've had specific memories of incidences where I've tried to speak as a child, say, this is what I feel about this thing. I learned this thing at school today and it was really cool, and just being immediately shut down. So I grew up my whole life thinking what I say doesn't matter. That's a form of rejection when somebody says something and you're laughed at.
Well, anytime someone is telling you not to be the character you are is rejection, right?
Right.
Not just the thicker skin thing, but I was told many times, stop being so sensitive or you're too sensitive. That's, again, another form of rejection. So anytime someone's basically trying to tell you not to be who you are, you're feeling rejected.
Yeah. And I think we talked about this on another podcast that just reminded me of being told that I was shy. And I'm not shy, but I read energy and I decide who I want to talk to and who I don't want to talk to. If I didn't want to talk to somebody, my parents would be like, oh, she's shy. Well, no, I just don't like that person's energy. Forcing children to interact with people that they don't want to, I don't know.
Yeah. That's a tough one. I think even as a parent, it's tough, but I know what you're saying because I was like that too. I was very intuitive with people and I could sense not good people right away too. And that's interesting. All right. Number 3, Kel. What else you got there?
I thought Mike was going to
got some
something.
juicy stuff.
No,
Mike, you got something to add?
No, I don't got anything to add. It's interesting to listen to.
Why?
Well, because I think it's different for men and women, or boys and girls.
Right.
Boys tend to act out, I think, more than girls do. And that's an indication of, look at me, pay attention to me. I mean, I did it in school growing up. I didn't know the answer to something, but I'll sure as hell act up because I want the attention that I probably wasn't getting in other areas.
It's
whole
funny.
thing.
That I was just going to say, now you're saying that, Mike. I think that is kind of true. Boys tend to more want attention.
Yeah.
Even if it's negative, they seem to act out to get that. You're right.
Yeah. I think, well, yeah, both for sure. As adolescents, for sure. That's a whole other podcast itself.
It makes me think, actually, and see if Kel agrees here, that it's like women are more content to just kind of disappear in the background.
But how sad is that?
I know.
So sad to me. Yeah, I was shoved into a box, but yeah, thinking of having to disappear in the background, that's really sad.
No, I know, but don't you think that's kind of the case?
For sure. Like if I think of like a elementary school situation, like I would just sit there. I wouldn't say anything. I wouldn't answer a question. Nothing. And if there were people acting up, they were boys. I don't remember any little girls acting up.
Yeah.
Not very many.
Good observation, Mike.
Yeah, that's super interesting.
See, that's why you're here, though, Mike. The male perspective. That's what you're supposed to be sharing.
That's what 4 years of therapy will do, right? It'll just, make you a professional in all this.
Yes.
Everybody should go out and see a good shrink.
Yes. Okay, where are we? Oh, number 3, I've never met a single person who's regretted giving up alcohol. I have not.
I don't know, but do you think that I might disagree with that? Because I don't think my dad was happy to give up alcohol. I don't think there was a day actually he really enjoyed in his life after he gave up drinking.
Really?
I think that was completely his identity, or what he thought was his identity.
Yeah, I would comment in relation to that. I went on Sunday mornings to play hockey, and after that I went to Gator Ted's for breakfast, and there was a guy there. It was Super Bowl, so the guy was there saving his table, and we were there at noon, and the game didn't start till 6:30. So, and listen, I had been that guy at one point in time, so I kind of had an idea. And he's like, "Hey, how you doing?" Da da da. We were just talking, and I said, "There's a guy I was with had a pitcher of beer," and he said, "You're not drinking?" I said, "No, I don't drink anymore." He's like, "Oh yeah." He goes, "I haven't seen you here," and I said, "Yeah, gave it up once the pandemic started," and blah 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 blah. He said, "Good for you." What the fuck does good for you mean? Is that just
it means good for you? I
don't know. I'm looking into those things because many people say it. Good for you. And it's like, actually, I shouldn't look on it negatively. I guess what I'm trying to say is that you think that that's them saying, "Boy, I wish I could do that."
Sometimes they just think it's.
How do you do it? What do you do? When I went out to watch the game, a woman said, "How do you do it? What do you do? Do you smoke weed? Do you take gummies?" And I go, I gave up weed 2 years ago. "What do you do?" I said, "Live."
I feel my feelings.
Well, I always felt my feelings, but I never let them out. Right. That's why I drank, and that's why I smoked weed. But
I live. I remember everything.
I share my
truly experience life every day.
And I saw this guy. It was comical to me. It was probably sad in nature, but I was kind of walking to my seat, and I looked at, and I knew who he was. I didn't want to talk to him because he was so drunk. He was just like, he looked like a fish out of water. His eyes were like, and I was like, "Holy shit, dude, you are a bomb. How are you even standing that drunk?" And I looked, and I was like, I used to get like that.
I totally think we're supposed to see those people. Yeah.
Quite a bit.
Yeah.
And I never once was like, "Oh boy, it's the big game. I wish I had a beer with the rest of the guys." Couldn't even care less.
Good.
Probably had one too many Pepsis, but hey, it's better.
Sugar rush.
Oh God, it was awful. Had to detox for 2 days.
And same thing. I always think I see those people for a reason, as a reminder, and no judgment, zero judgment. Because I was right there.
I just thought, boy, what are you going to feel like in the morning or Tuesday morning? You're going to be hurting.
Exactly.
I don't think any of us definitely have any regrets about quitting drinking, Kel, but I guess I would say that I think there's probably some people that struggle with it, but we've talked about that. Those are the people,
like the white knuckling, just not doing the healing part of it.
Yes,
kind of thing.
Absolutely. That's what I was going to say. Those are the people that haven't dealt with all their shit, right?
Right.
100%. My dad never did. But again, he would be back to the old school, old boy mentality of you're not supposed to express yourself. You're supposed to be
But
manly.
people do when they're drunk. I sat here listening to what you said, and I thought, do I miss anything? I maybe miss having a beer after baseball or hockey or golf. But if I go out to a pub and sit there and have like 5 pints talking with somebody, the dirt comes out, all the shit comes out. And then you wake up the next day going, holy Christ, what did I say? What did I tell that I shouldn't have told? Right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, my dad could be
that's their
emotional drunk. That's the only time he ever expressed himself.
Same with me. Yeah. Any issues that I had, they only came out like end of the night.
And that sucks because that's what's keeping us pressed down and not sharing our truth or whatever we want to call it while we're in a sober state, because that's when the resolution begins to start.
And rewind to what we were just talking about childhood and not being okay to express those things. So we just never learned how to, and the liquid courage gave us that. But now we're learning how to do it for real.
Do you think, because you're of your boys and you, Trace, because, well, your daughter's not at that age yet, but do you think that alcohol is decreasing in consumption amongst the generation? No, still the same?
Decreasing? What did you say? Increasing or decreasing?
Decreasing.
Oh, decreasing. Yes, for sure. One of my kids doesn't drink at all.
Yeah.
One of them is not super interested. He definitely doesn't want to be drunk, but he would sit around and have a couple beers around the fire at the cottage or whatever. And then the other one, it's definitely slowed down. He's only 26. He's almost 27 and his hangovers are getting bad. I'm like, dude, if they're getting bad now, like, wait till you're 40. So he's seeing that, but they're also very aware of alcohol. And I talk about it a lot and I don't tell them not to do it, but
I just think of the generation though. Do they go to bars? Do they party till 5 a.m, drinking? I'm sure it happens, but I wonder if it happens as much as it used to.
I don't think so.
Anytime I'm out recently, there's barely any people out. I don't think people go to bars really anymore.
Where do people go to meet people?
I think it's all online. They're all on Snapchat with each other. And
Mike doesn't like that answer.
Yeah.
No, it's true.
Yeah.
It's true, though. Yeah.
I guess I could go to church. I could go to a church.
You could go to church. Can you take a video with, like, can you go live with that? I'd like to see Mike at church.
Yeah, do you really think that's going to happen?
You can meet a nice lady at church.
I'm sure I could. I could meet a nice lady out having a coffee. I could meet a nice lady at the grocery store.
Remember when you said you were going to ask a lady if she would like to go for a walk with you on when you were hiking?
You did?
And we told you not to do that. No,
Mike, don't do that.
I don't remember saying that, but I'll trust that I said it. You guys have good memories about the things that I do, but I don't remember what you do. So.
Okay, so our next one is deep. Okay, our power to heal and grow lies in our ability to continue to surrender into the unknown. Vulnerability. Yeah.
So what were you meaning by that exactly?
I remember the very moment that I knew I had to quit, and that click in my brain, that realization and the decision was like jumping off a freaking cliff. Because I was like, what is my life going to be without this? Am I going to have fun? Am I going to be fun? Am I going to be able to fall asleep at night? Sadly enough, all of those unknowns.
Right.
So that's the initial thing, is the surrender into the unknown of what life is going to be like without alcohol.
True. Very true.
But, on the journey, that's what it is. It's surrender. It's a continued surrender into the unknown, going from my anxious mind of thinking I need to control everything and figure everything out, to just kind of living, like I always say, like I lived like this emoji for years after I quit drinking, because I was like, what? I thought I had my whole life figured out. I never thought I wouldn't be married. I thought I had it all figured out, and then I didn't. So that was proof that no matter how much I tried to control everything and plan everything and think I had the whole thing figured out, I did not. So life is pretty interesting when you can live in that surrender. And that is also a practice, because the mind starts to go and wants to know things and wants to know what's going to happen with this and with that. And so it's like a surrender, and it's a spiritual thing too. I do think that I was born with a plan, and I do feel like I'm guided by a higher power, and it's surrendering to that and knowing that I'm always going to be okay. And there is a plan for me.
I think that is probably the biggest fear most people have when they're trying to make this decision. We get it from a lot of people, or we have from the people we hear from. I have a friend that I've had contact with. I keep trying, but then kind of stumbling backwards. I think that's all kind of fear-based, right? It is how am I going to navigate life without this type of thing? I guess for me, I've been fortunate that I've always kind of just taken chances, in the sense that if I want to do something, I just kind of do it. And if I have a thought in my head, I just kind of act on it. Or when I decide something strongly for myself, it's just I'm doing it. I don't really question it. Some people are very indecisive.
Yes.
I'm not. When I decide something, it's decided and that's it, kind of thing. So when I decided I wasn't going to drink anymore, it was literally, okay, it's tomorrow. That's it.
Right.
But I know it's not that easy for people. And I still didn't know how I was going to navigate anything. I didn't know how I was going to navigate social situations or things like the death of my father, grief, tragedy, whatever, stress. But I just did it. I guess I just took the chance.
Right.
But I think that's what holds most people back. Exactly what you're saying, Kel.
I think a lot of this is like learning how to trust ourselves to get to that point where you're at, Trace, and just making decisions. And
well, it's your instincts, but like exactly what you're saying. If you believe in a higher power, or even like I say, the universe, like universe will bring you what is meant for you, kind of thing, especially if you're putting out into the universe the kind of things that you want, and you're putting that kind of energy out. I was having this conversation with one of my employees the other day because she was feeling very anxious. And I was just saying, I know it's really hard when you're in that anxious state, but try as much as you can to just trust that things are going to play out the way that they're meant to play out. The universe is going to have a plan for how the outcome is going to looks for you. Just kind of have faith in that and know, and let that guide you, instead of being stuck and worrying about what's going to happen, all the outcomes and all those things, because you don't have control over it.
Right. Was it Deb's episode that we were talking about practicing presence, being in the present?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, it too, because depression is living in the past and anxiety is living in the future. It's the practice of living in the present moment, because nothing else matters. We don't even know if we're going to have that anxiety and I know anxiety so well that it's like I start to bring myself into these future situations, these future conversations, all these things that there's no guarantee we're even going to get that. All we have is right now.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's so true. You're right. It comes back to just being present, living in the present. And that's a challenge for everybody, drinking or not.
Sure, totally.
Any average Joe can have a hard time being present.
Mike?
Yes. What would you like? I always thought that this emoji was lo-fi.
Lo-fi. Oh yeah. And so people are listening to this podcast, not watching it. So it's the shrugging emoji. That's what I was talking about before. People are like, what emoji is it?
I love the shruggy emoji though. That's one of my favorites.
I love being in that state. I'm like, I don't know. Well, let's see what happens. I have no idea.
It could be also like you're lifting up the world, Kel.
Oh yeah, I don't feel like that, but when I'm in that state.
Okay, lucky number. Are we on lucky number 5?
Okay, yes.
The last.
So inner peace comes with having integrity with ourselves, forgiving ourselves, and learning how to love and accept ourselves exactly as we are right now. So,
well, that is the biggest ongoing process, Kel.
For sure.
And I think we've talked about that one. We touched on it in the last episode. What was the first part you said there?
Having integrity with ourselves. Yeah.
Yes.
So that to me is everything. That's what almost killed me, was waking up every day after breaking promises with myself. And just, that's what was making me feel like shit. I had no integrity. I had integrity in my business, parenting, friendships, all of that. But the relationship with myself was just awful because I had no integrity.
But that's what life is in some ways. He talked about being guided and things being put in place and the right people coming at the right times. Maybe not the right people, but people coming at the right times to teach you shit. So I firmly believe that you're always going to be able to learn something if you sit back and reflect. You get to reflect on that particular situation. So, stop. So no, reflection is, if I sat there and thought about things that happened over the last 15 years of my life and thought, yeah, it makes sense now, because the same thing happened twice, either with different people or different situations, but the same thing happened twice. It's like, yeah, because you didn't learn it the first time.
Oh man.
We got to bring it to you again until you really sit there and really think about how you're going to respond when a situation like this arises the next time.
Oh my God, you guys, I have something juicy here.
Oh boy.
I am lucky enough. She is one of our listeners, but one of my best friends is a therapist, and I got to spend time with her tonight before I met with you guys. My beautiful friend said to me today, I am not going to change my patterns until I figure out where they came from.
Right. It's exactly. Thanks. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to say in a roundabout kind of way.
But they keep coming back. My God, I always say I like to learn things the hard way.
Yeah, you and me both, Kel.
Frick.
I've been told that my whole life too.
Everybody's that way. Trust life, right? Trust life.
Yes.
It's true. That is a true, like I say that with my girlfriend all the time, but it's always when we're in a state of, I don't know what the fuck to do with this situation. It's like, trust life, trust God, trust the universe, whatever you want to call it. Just trust it. Have faith.
Go to bed, wake up. Resolution may come in your sleep.
Well, be conscious of what you're putting out into the universe though, too, because I was saying that to the girl I was referring to, my employee, because we can have this effect that's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. If we continually think negative, well, then eventually that's what we're going to create.
Or
that, or the opposite.
Or that negative feeling maybe trying to tell you something that your instincts are right. Now, how are you going to respond to what you already know?
True, Mike.
Are you just going to sit there and, I'm just going to wait for it to happen? Or are you going to be somewhat prepared and go, okay, there's so many little nuances that can occur with anything.
And the awareness of all of that is the first thing. Like how you said, Mike, you're like, wait a minute, this keeps happening.
Yeah.
Like there is a common denominator in these relationship situations that I've been in. It's the awareness. Do you keep getting the same lessons over and over again? Like you said, wait a minute, this keeps happening. That's the first step, is the awareness. Once you have the awareness, then you have the choice to choose something differently the next time. I sound so sure of myself while I say that, but I don't do it.
But again, that's the universe. That's the guide. That's whatever you want to call it, right? It keeps presenting you with the same thing.
Or it's you utilizing all your experiences and fixing it.
Yeah. Fixing it by choosing differently.
Yeah, when someone fixes a car, they have to sometimes use YouTube to look how to fix it. Well, in the same analogy is we have to sometimes reference our own internal YouTube and go, oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, okay, well, I'm not doing it that way this time. I'm going to do it this way.
Internal YouTube. That's the key. Yeah. We already have the answers. We just need to be quiet, meditate, be quiet, get into your body, and it comes. Yeah.
And it's with anything in life, business, friendships, relationships, whatever it may be. If you're getting frustrated. It's
a word. It's a word. I get you.
And it takes a long time to learn this. I got a lot of words made up for splentacular is one of them. If you keep doing the same things over and over again, you're gonna get the same responses. And that's when anxiety happens and anger and all these other things. It just keeps going. How are you going to channel your, as Kelly's hit on a few times, energy into centering your chi and getting yourself on track, on course?
Right. Coming back to the present moment.
Oh my God. I'll give you an example. Okay. I used to be I hated people that were terrible drivers and that would just do stupid things.
Ooh, I still do.
Well, I do too, but I'm talking, I'd go cuckoo shrew, where once my ex-wife told me she was mad at me because I got out of control. Anyway, today, traffic, I'm driving and it's bumper to bumper, and I'm waiting for the turning lane to come to get into the turning lane. And my turn comes to merge into the turning lane. And sure enough, some guy,
Lovely person,
driving, and I see at the last second, and I didn't brake. I could have easily just drove my car into him because I don't really care. I'm not going to be crying over my car getting hit. But I was like, what the fuck? And for what? And then we go to finally turn left, and the guy starts going really slow just to try to piss me off. And I'm like, don't get mad, don't get mad. Just drove around him. And then I was like, why? Don't try to understand why. There's no sense in trying to understand why. That would have ruined my night for like a good hour later. It was gone within a minute.
That's amazing.
So,
and those are the moments where we get to see where we've grown, right?
Yeah.
You still get put in these situations so that you can see, or you have the opportunity to make a different choice.
And there's still work to be done. Don't get me wrong.
For sure.
But,
yeah.
Yeah. Those are the kind of
Is the goal to be perfect? Mine's not.
No, never.
No.
The goal is to not let somebody else's actions affect my own and cause me or anger and increase blood pressure.
Amazing.
I'm getting older and I got my own ways to have that happen. So I don't need somebody else doing it.
Right. We don't need to give other people power over our own emotions.
Well, they maybe in a video game analogy, they're low in food. They're trying to steal our food.
Maybe, or maybe they're having the worst day of their life.
Maybe they're just hangry.
Maybe they're hangry. Maybe they're hungover. Maybe this is their best. This is them showing up as their best.
My therapist told me once, I talked to him about whatever you want to call it, road rage. And he said, look, I get it too. Believe me, I get it. I'm the therapist. He said, you don't know what someone is dealing with in their head. They could have just found out they got diagnosed with something. Somebody died. You don't know. You really don't know. So why do you take it to that degree and let it affect you? It's like, that guy disrespected me by cutting me off, or that guy disrespected me by giving me the finger. Did you hear about the guy walking his dog in
Toronto, north of Toronto?
Yeah, that is bloody insane. And I thought about that. I'm like, okay, don't give the guy the finger. It's not worth it.
No.
It's not worth it.
You never know what somebody else is going through.
There's too many crazy people.
It's an opportunity for us to exercise empathy. Right. Look at it that way. It's kind of like it was Jamie that said that he exercises the most empathy for drunk people because he wonders what kind of pain are they dealing with that they feel that they have to get that drunk.
True. That's
so true. So true.
That was a great one to end on. There's still a couple points there because that was an action-packed one there.
Forgiving ourselves. I think that's really a big step that I learned at going to meetings. I would go to meetings and listen to other people's stories, and they were hoping that their family would forgive them for whatever happened. And before any of that, I think we need to forgive ourselves. I had to forgive myself for getting to that point. I talk about my girlfriend brought me to an AA meeting, my first AA meeting, and I sat there and I was so anxious and I could not believe I was there. I was just like, I cannot believe I got myself here in a church basement at an AA meeting. I can't believe I've done this to myself. And then from that point, I had to forgive myself for getting myself to that point.
You're judging yourself in that scenario when it's like, maybe the spin is, and this is not for you, for other people that are maybe experiencing that thought, is maybe you're just going to meet some new people. And part of it is you're going to hear a little bit of their vulnerability. I mean, I don't know. I think that whole AA stigma, that's a whole judgy, I think, in some ways. It's a whole judgy thing or label, right? AA, really that bad, right?
There's a stigma to
stigma.
Then the very end of that, just love and accept ourselves exactly as we are right now. And that had to happen as well, because I think we all need to do this, drinking or not. We see it in society. It's like, oh, I'll be happy when I quit drinking, or I'll be happy when
meet the right person,
or I'll love myself when I meet the right person. I'll love myself when I make this much money. I'll love myself when I have this or lose weight or whatever, all that bullshit. But it's got to start now in this moment. And that happened in the yoga room for me, I do believe I've told this story on the podcast before, but I looked at myself in the mirror in the yoga room when I first started there, and I had gained maybe 35, 40 pounds. And I was just like, holy shit. Again, what have I done to myself? What have I done to myself? And would be at the back of the room. And then I made the decision to move myself to the front of the room in front of the mirror and look at myself in the mirror every class at the end of class and say quiet in my head, thank you, I love you. And that was so fucking hard to do. But I did it every single day as a practice. And I think that's the key, is you don't wait for something else to love yourself, or somebody else to love you. It's got to come from the inside.
Well, I think that's why it's so great you finished with that one, Kel, because I think those are all the things that are a constant work in progress for all of us.
Totally.
I think those are the things we've talked, all of us, on other episodes about forgiveness, self-forgiveness, how hard that is, and how it's ongoing. The self-love, it's an ongoing practice. So I think it's cool, and maybe you did it by design, that you finished with that, because it's like that's the ongoing that will continue on and on and on and on in year 6, year 10, year 15 of sobriety, right?
Right.
You said we're never going to get to perfect.
No,
and
I don't
hopefully
want
that's
to.
not what we're trying.
That's
But
too much pressure. I don't know.
you said too, if we can just get to a place where we love ourselves just in the moment and in the way we are today, that in itself is perfection.
Peaceful. Peace. Yeah.
Yeah. What is perfection? What is perfect? I mean,
Yeah. Who decides that? I don't know.
God.
Perfectly imperfect. That's how I like to be.
Absolutely.
I'll
I
take
agree.
it.
Yeah.
Jesus, take the wheel.
Jesus, take the wheel. Hopefully nobody is offended by this or anything else that we have said tonight.
Oh my God.
Well, that was awesome, Kel. Thanks for sharing that.
What's wrong with you? I mean, really, what's wrong?
Me?
With you?
Oh, wow.
I'm
That's a whole
teasing.
other episode.
So in part 2 of this episode, we're going to go over exactly what's wrong with Kelly, and we'll highlight a few of the major points.
This will be a 5-hour episode.
Yeah. Yeah. This is a week-long series. Come back for the week.
Mike.
I'm teasing. Kelly, come on. You set yourself up, man. I'm telling you.
It's my vulnerability.
That's good. That's good. That's good.
Well, you are the elder in this group as far as sobriety goes, Kel. So
well,
thank you for sharing your
grateful,
infinite wisdom with us.
Well, it just comes out. Well, thanks everybody so much for listening. You can find us on Instagram at the Laugh Life Podcast. We have a Facebook community that we'll have the link to in the show notes. If you want to be a guest on our podcast or have any questions, comments, or topic suggestions, just reach out. So thanks, you guys. And thanks, everybody. Keep laughing. Bye-bye.
Adios.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. Please give us a 5-star rating, like and subscribe, share on social media, and tell your friends. We love getting your feedback and ideas of what you'd like to hear on upcoming episodes of the Laugh Life podcast. If you yourself are living alcohol-free and want to share your story here, please reach out.
I'm drawing a blank on a word when you get to, oh my God.
Have perspective?
No.
Observe?
No. Make sure you cut this out, Tracy.
Me guessing, me trying to read Mike's mind.
The word is
Starts with
yeah, I think it starts with R. Reflect.
Reflect.